Welcome back to Afternoon Live. Our next guest started on an early path as a woman on fire entrepreneur at the young age of 19 even. She's here to share her message of take a stand and demand your worth. We welcome the author of Woman on Fire Entrepreneur, Heather Picken. Heather, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much.
I love that title, Woman on Fire. Explain.
Yeah, well, I believe that every woman that wants to pursue something worthy has to own their power, and really what that takes is that driving desire, that burning desire that you're going to do whatever it takes to pursue your goals. And sometimes, you know, there's pain involved. So I always say you have to embrace both the pain and pleasure of pursuing something worthy.
Yeah, let's talk about some of that. What is your breakthrough story? Because I know you must have one.
I have many stories. One of my breakthrough moments was I was living with a boyfriend at the time, and my business was failing. Everything in my life, you know, was just falling apart. And one night, my life changed. We had a fight. He kicked me out at 2 a.m. And I had no place to go. I was living off my credit cards, no car. And in that moment, I set an intention that I was going to turn this around, that I was going to make my mess my mission to empower millions of women. And I hired a mentor, and it changed my life around.
How did you get there, though? Because, I mean, it sounds beautiful, and I believe it to be true, but how did you get there? How did you get from that feeling of, like, despair and sadness and loneliness to, like, feeling that empowerment?
Well, you know, to me, in my mind, I had no other choice. Like, this was my destiny. I was, you know, had this idea that I knew there was something greater out there for me. And literally what helped me was reprogramming my mind, focusing on my end result of what I want to create. And that's what I love empowering women, you know, all over the world to do.
Do you feel like we as women get lost in sort of like the stereotypes of what we're supposed to be doing, you know, fall in love, have a family, and kind of that's supposed to be the be-all and end-all?
Absolutely. We get caught up because a lot of women and people in general, they don't know who they are. And so there's a quote that I love. It's know thyself, be thyself, love thyself. And that really means if you know who you are and you line your values to your vision, then you can live an extraordinary life. There's no stopping you.
So how do you get there to knowing what you're worth? Because I feel like we as women don't often know ourselves, number one, like you said, and then once we get to know ourselves, how do we determine our worth in the world?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first it starts with understanding what your values are, and everyone lives according to their top 3 values. No one on the planet has the same set of values. So look at your life, look at what it's demonstrating. So let's just say if you're a mother, there is a value on that. You can also go a step further, and how can I monetize that? And so you could break it down, like if you're cooking meals, you know, 3 times a day, what is that worth? And what happens, it's a psychological shift that you start realizing and activating that executive center in your brain so that you are literally on fire and you find all these opportunities just opening up to you.
Yeah, I like that. I like where you're going with that, because I can think about that in different ways as far as business goes and outside of the home, right? Being that sort of entrepreneurial and having that spirit. But what about inside the home? Like, you know your worth. Like, you're not going to let anyone, not your partner, not your kids, devalue you and what you do, right? In the home and around the home, for them and for yourself. I like that. I'm feeling empowered just sitting here talking to you. Talk to me about the role that low self-esteem plays in the mindset of women.
Yeah, I find it happens a lot, especially if a woman wants to start a business or maybe they're not feeling good about themselves. And, you know, a lot of times what happens, we're programmed, you know, women are programmed as children to say, oh, you know, you can't do that or you're not smart. And I actually had a learning disorder, dyslexia, growing up. And so I learned through all the trials and tribulations, and I actually was also overweight. So I had all these things, you know, really really impacting me in my sense of self-worth. And so I realized, the biggest thing is just really knowing who you are and not comparing yourself to anyone. And I think that is the biggest thing that really hurts women. They look at celebrities on TV and they're thinking, I'm not glamorous like that. But when you really own, your own authentic beauty and who you are, that's when you can really shine.
Yes, yes. You know what? That reminds me of a quote that someone shared with me where it's, you're not better than anybody else, but nobody else is better than you. So when you think about it in those terms, I think that can help uplift our spirits and empower us also. Like, we do tend to compare ourselves to what we see. I mean, I think that's just sort of human nature.
Absolutely.
But if you think about it in terms of like, well, they're not better than you, but at the same time, don't get confused and get caught up in thinking you're better than somebody else, because I think that's how we start going down another spiral. That's another rabbit hole,
Yeah.
right? Well, you talked earlier about monetizing your values. How do you do that?
Absolutely. Well, what I was talking about before, everyone lives by a set of values, and it's really your top three. So your life demonstrates that. Asking yourself questions, what am I most inspired to do? What am I talking about? How do I fill my space? So if I were to go into your home, do you have pictures around your family? Mm-hmm. And really taking that and journaling all the things that you love. And we live in the most amazing time today, because technology is the most amazing thing that can connect us to create businesses, get our message out there. So my thing is, everyone has a unique expression inside of them. It's really about what inspires me the most, and then being able to create a strategy and a plan to go out there and do it.
That's how you do it. Well, I couldn't have said it better. That's why you're here. Thank you so much. Really appreciate having you here. For more information about Heather and her book, head over to our website at katu.com.